the value of your authentic self. When you're an empowered person, the value is that you unconditionally love all of those around you for who they are. And so here's why you will grow up. I'm a 16-year-old. No, I'm now a 44-year-old. But as a 16-year-old, the value of my authentic self brought me to make conscious choices that followed what I got to learn, to get taught about Jesus and God. So humility, humbleness, being able to turn the other cheek, forgive them for they do not know, all things we discuss. I am a supporter of self-help and personal development and people who do emotions and thoughts seriously. So that means they know that we are love, and that's because goodness is in every one of you. Now, that's when you get to your 0 1 year old. Until then, you will have a different number of people who will have their stories. When people get out of shame, they're not looking for how to get out of shame. They're looking for how to be with people who know how to love. Okay, so as a 16-year-old, I got to see all of these 16-year-old teenagers be what they actually are still as grown-ups, and be jealousy, spite, mantles of mental health, mantles of yoga, mantles of a lot of things. Okay, so the value of my authentic self, like the value of your authentic self, which I'm attachment trauma informed. So integration of the brain, I got lucky. I have secure attachment. Besides Jesus and God and all things that we talk about, I simply can tell you that I learned already as a teenager, you cannot prove intent. And I will not be trying to prove intent. And I also learned of how people manipulate words. And we're all embodied brains. So I also learned how people hide things. And we talk about a lot of that. Okay, so trying to share authentic self is a very clear feeling. It's I have an open heart, and I'll notice if my heart is closing because people are not in the same space. So when you don't feel felt, when you don't feel seen, we've talked about it, when you feel rejected, abandoned is a strong word for a person like me because I don't ever feel abandoned because, again, I'm not a teenager. That's a 44-year-old woman. I'm not a 0 1 year old that doesn't have a prefrontal cortex on. So I'm going to stop with explaining. Empowered women don't go around begging men, women, or theys from here in a way of feeling what I heard as a kid. We're all misunderstood, Maria. So I remember going with my girlfriends and whining, quote unquote, about family. And that's why when you hear me say teenagers or kids, I'm talking about emotionally immature people who are not taking their personal development or self-help seriously or good therapy seriously. There's no reason for anybody to say that they don't have access to stuff. I work and learn from a lot of great therapists. This is who I learn about attachment trauma information, not people who are, let's just put it this way, others. And spirituality and sciences come together. So true spirituality, true sciences, they're all open-minded people. They like to have fun. We like to tease. We have our humanity in the forefront. And divinity descends. It's not a god. We don't compare it to that. We don't have mantles. And I use words however it may be, but my words don't mean fanciness. So that's why I don't use a dictionary. And a left and right mode brainer will know how to say, that's interesting. I like that. The people who question it, they don't have the two working together. And what that means is that they have a teenager attitude, not the other way around. I learned how to get out of my black and white thinking as a teenager. Okay, so with that being said, authentic self and the value is that I live beyond a solo self, but that doesn't mean, and I'm like trying to get words out of my mouth tonight, that does not mean that I will bend down backwards and over the minute you manipulate desperately your words in a way that I have recently gotten the opportunity to be in. And I say opportunity because every single one of people is opportunity. For what? For my physical mastery, to maintain what I got taught already as a kid by my mother, by God, by Jesus, by any person who's an authentic self. Be humble. You're imperfect and flawed like anybody else because you're not comparing. No, it's that I will feel life differently than you will, and I will think differently than you will, and I know what insecure nervous systems do. They project shit, and you better bet they project it or they want a mantle. And in either cases, I'm like, okay, I don't need a mantle now. I don't need shit. I'm a grown human being who knows what love is all about, and it ain't that. and it ain't that, and it ain't that. And so love is a very easy, easy game, and it's not a game in the way that the teenagers do this thing. So I am not a teenager. I'm a grown, empowered woman who's saying you can be here too, man, woman, they might you be. It's called integration of the brain. And I like to simplify it, and I'm not going to always introduce all of my sources. I will forget and I'll confuse data. So let's get to the value of my authentic self is that I love to be with those smart men and women who are also open-hearted men and women as a grown-up. I do not enjoy being around any of those who are love dependent within that human suffering love narrative, because it means that I have to hear a drama king, queen, or they tell me how awful life is, how awful everything is, and how much. And there you go. Okay, so that's where I don't want to do personal development. That's what it sounds like, but you learn how to support the people you love. We have Sid and Diego and Manny. So here's where I'm going to read our lovely Sadhguru for a minute, because he shares it best. And that would be where if you want to actually say that you support people, for one, the pain of ignorance. Yeah. Oh, the pain of ignorance for sure. But he's meaning something else. So we're going to leave that one alone. That quote, I read it to you the other day. He shares with us one about how if you're keen on doing something about human suffering, tend to yourself first. So I know how to love myself, which is why you see an open-hearted person who's not going to bend down and backwards for somebody who is basically a love-dependent man, woman, they, doesn't matter, none of my business. I simply know that when I will say no, I'm not coming to play. I'm not a 4-year-old. I'm not a 6-year-old. I'm not a 16-year-old. And by the time you're 30, if you don't know how to have these types of conversations, you get to keep learning about how to have these types of conversations. We can thank our oversoul. I've learned how to consistently get more and more in my social engagement nervous system thanks to simply saying, hey, Maria, high five. You're great. They're not a match. They're not a match. They're not a match. It's okay. You all do life differently. That's called I be me and you be you. And that's why I can just say I'm having fun because I'm curious. I'm open, accepting. I'm not tolerating your not authentic self. I've learned how to be around Cusco's pretty much my entire life because there's a lot of teenagers out there in their mantles. Okay. So they don't attend to themselves first. In fact, they say you can't love yourself first. You can't know yourself. You can't do this. You can't not have shame. You have to. Like, well, you don't know me. I have a twin. I got to have fights all the time, and I got to know that I'm lovable just the way I am. Go get her, 3-year-old. High five, Maria. So there you go. I got to choose with my left and right. I'm lovable. I got explained. My mother explained. So see, I have the consistent caregiver saying you're different, not defective, different. And you can be emotional and all of it. It's good. So no humiliation, no helplessness, no rejection. And that's why I have compersion. And that's why it's easy for me as a solo poly to say, have fun. See you later. No hierarchies. No, you can't get lost, I'm sure, because I'm committed to you. Are you committed to me? I'll find out when you come back, and you might not come back. And that uncertainty doesn't make me feel, oh my God. So I'm just, again, explaining the authentic self, any person, it's about your 0-1-year-old, and people don't get here, which is why we have the breakup coach, twin flame coach, relationship coaches, all of those relationship soul age group people are going to keep learning about how to be the societal soul age group. I'm in the enlightenment. I forgot to mention that. We don't have laundry here. That laundry stuff, that's a spirituality old person who's still learning through those stories. That's why they don't move out of the pain of their suffering and their body. They don't seem to know how to get more integrated. What I'm wondering, how is your emotional still laundry? Do you not know how to do mindfulness, focus attention, awareness, kind intention? Don't you know how to say, well, I got 24 hours. I'm dealing with uncertainty. Yeah, let me have fun in my brain. It's what happens. You just sit here and people think you smoke things. Nope, I don't do any drugs. I don't want to. And I only have some alcohol, but within limited doses because I'm a small person. Okay, so you attend to yourself first, and then you also attend to the people around you. That is the best way to start. Okay, so when your authentic self is always happy, people think that there's something wrong with you. When they say you have shame, no, you don't. But I can understand that you might. So when you attend to yourself first, it's because you got told, hey, daughter, Thanks, Mom. If you do for yourself, you'll do for three. So remember, however you want something done, you got to do it all the way you want. Otherwise, we're going to do it differently. And I learned about that in my 4th grade. I went to my teacher. I was being teased. I was being mocked because I had a back brace because I have scoliosis. There is this girl. Again, I can't speak right now. And she reminded me of the other girl. Here's where karma comes back, and so that you can close that full circle. Yes, I remember the images. Obviously, they tell us our images are not necessarily correct. I'm pretty sure I remember the images correctly. So I'm just going to leave the details out of the picture right now. But the listeners know my story about my moments of being a child. So long story short, I went to the teacher and I asked my teacher to take care of it, or that's what I thought. I said, they're teasing me. They're saying that my guts are going to fall out. My guts aren't going to fall out. I don't remember what I said. I just wanted him to fix this, this teasing that was happening. I was reminded by somebody that was a child with me about this. So see, I didn't remember that part. They said they stood up for me and they would defend me and that they would beat up anybody who would come and tease me. And I believe them. I believe them because they're not a liar, although they've lost their way, if you will. But anyways, let me put that aside. It's a beautiful story. It's beautiful to be a divine feminine. Anyone, 5D Mystic Divine Feminines, come on over, because really you can't make this shit up, even if you tried. So if you want a actual happy life as a mystic and you want to share about your oversoul in a safe space, come over, because 4D calls are people energy vampires, dark auras. They make up shit about false twin flames, true twin flames, divine counterparts. There's twin flame and flames. And you'll know if you're divine feminine, you don't need a coach. You'll just know. So that's what I'm saying. You can't make this shit up. Every time I think about my oversoul, I'm like, wow, I know my past, I know my future. And I just was finishing telling about my future. That's why people are like, it's a movie. Well, it's a good one. And it's not a movie, but hey, it's definitely fantasy land. And no, I don't need any drugs. See, I'm just happy as can be. So anyways, okay, now I lost the train of thought. Oh, yes, the teacher didn't do what I wanted him to do. He made me give a presentation. I'll never forget, because that's not what I wanted. And in my head, I said, see, Maria, you can count on people. But like your mother taught you, if you want things done the way you want it done, well, you're going to have to do it yourself. So what are you going to do next time? I'll take care of it myself, because I didn't like this. I didn't want to do a presentation about my back. They're children. They're supposed to listen to adults. I'm a child. They're not going to listen to me. And look what happens when you exchange stories with other authentic selves. They share, well, actually, hear me out. As a child, they say to me, I would have listened to children. I was like, I wouldn't. No, I ain't listening to child. You don't know more than me. I'm going to listen to adults. Because you're a child. So that's how I felt, which is why I didn't want to say the story. I wanted an adult to say the story, because why would they believe me? I'm a kid like them. I don't know more than they do. So do you see how subjective experiences work? Okay, so here's where, when I was told that this human being would beat other people up, I don't know if I believed them, because they're a pretty much liar for sure. As a grown-up, they got into that. As a kid, they were the most cute kid ever, and I know exactly why they turned out to be what they are. And that's sad, because toxic families and whatnot. So yeah, when you see people who become something that is not insulting, it's something that needs a good therapist, but the herd of the therapist needing person doesn't want to go. They just know how to say, we're blood. No one's going to get in between blood. You actually think of a clan, like not a clan that is, and I've heard people, they do this thing, this clan thing, the in and out group. Yeah, we're a human herd. Here at IHP, we're all people. So we don't do stories that are evil or not evil. We do, here's where authentic selves we love, and we know good therapy. And we know that there are no energy vampires or dark auras. Narcissists are healable. So are all the antisocial personality groups. And that's because they have a self like you and I do. And even for the psychopath, yes, there's this thing. I forget how they explain it. But they still can work with their emotional mental plane and get out of maladaptive child behavior and adaptive child behavior, because those child parts live within every one of us. So some of us got lucky. We know how to love ourselves. We know how to play. We know how to fight. We know all of it. And we bring ourselves and say, here's who I am. I'm beautiful. Do you want to play? Because I want to build snow people and mer people. And you stay a 3-year-old. That's what happened to me. So do I know that there are people out there that need good mental health? Yes, I do. There's a scale. Michael Stone. It's an evil scale. He's a Michael Stone forensic criminologist. They all need good therapy. And his ending, it involves all those that people want to talk to me about. When I say I love all people, and I say, yes, I know what you're talking to me about. I've watched Criminal Minds, CSI. I love criminal investigation. I know those people. Don't dehumanize them. I follow Jesus. Maybe you didn't hear what Jesus spoke of. I heard. Or maybe you didn't hear about God and humbleness and humility, and maybe you didn't hear about, casting a stone. I told God everything I think about the grown-ups who use his name, and I'm okay with not being, in specific spectrums yeah, I'm just going to leave it like that. I know that my heart is in the right place, and I know sciences and spirituality go like this, and I'm not dumb, but I can be dumb, also not gullible. But I do know, again, when people want to live pseudo aliveness and keep presenting to equations of why they don't want to accept that all people can get access to their 0-1-year-old. Now, will they? That's another question. And really, no, not all of them will. Actually, this is the part of where there's energy. And there's dysregulated and modulated, and that's really challenging. I got it explained by my somatic therapist. And I also got explained by a bunch of therapists how every body is an organized system, and so is your brain. And as a biology, it seeks to return to its actual optimized format. So when it meets an authentic self, it will be reminded of its own potential, which is why feminine will say to all those different types of masculines, you can get here. You're beautiful. Love is easy. It's kind. I speak in your face. Are you ready to be a independent lover? And that means that not you're going to attach or bring in any of that low self-esteem manipulation stuff, because I won't actually put up with any of it. I'll let you know immediately. No. So long story short, the authentic self, the value, you speak to people's faces with love, compassion. Doesn't mean they're going to think you're kind. No, actually, they don't like it when you're authentic if they don't want to be their inner child. Thank you, Patrick Tiahan, as he presents. He's a childhood trauma survivor. He's healed and healing, I always say, because I don't know his story, and he's a good therapist. And he shares with his community, when you meet authentic self people, if you're not healing, your inner child comes out of the word work. And that's what I know about those who project their 0-1-year-old, which is why we say, I love that you've presented to me the opportunity to share. It depends on what's going on. We got Sid Diego Manny, we got a squirrel of Cusco, we got Cusco, and here's a pacha. It depends. So right silence is sometimes what we choose. Other times we say, no, thank you. No friends here. I don't want to break your heart, but I will have to. And I'm not going to do anything different. I will listen to you. I will nod my head. I will repeat myself, and I will kindly and gently request that you disengage from, again, thank you so much. I'm so sorry. It's called incompatibilities. I'm doing it as softly as possible as a grown 44-year-old woman who loves to be the authentic self of me. And come on over to Personal Development Self-Help Done with Human Love Narrative Vibe. No suffering. No. The suffering is for the ones who don't want to do emotional awareness, self-regulation, accountability, thought regulation, accountability. So again, everybody come on over if you want to love 5D relationships, to be you, 5D mystics, divine feminines, the whole shebang. So we'll be back with more. Have a great day. Like, share, subscribe.